Hey, Tru Wonder team, that's our 5K first and second grade room. Here with your weekend update for October 12th and 13th. We are talking about Moses and the burning bush this weekend. So we had Abraham and, excuse me, this big suitcase in our wardrobe was a reminder that, God sent Abraham on this journey. And we're skipping ahead to Exodus chapter 3, verse 1 through chapter 4, verse 17 to talk about Moses out in the desert. Our remember verse is new this month. It is, I want to know Christ. Yes, to know the power of his resurrection. It's from Philippians 3:10a. Our ponder point is God is, I am. Our lesson this week is really focusing on how God reveals himself to Moses, on how God makes himself known to Moses. In our explore activities, simply because we're going to hear about the story, and there's a bush in the story, we have some pictures of bushes. We're playing a little matching game. But then also working with the theme that God makes himself known, we have a blind box and, using our sense of touch, not our eyes. We reach into the box and we feel an object, and based on how it feels, we try to, figure out what it is. And so just using our minds and our sense of touch rather than our sense of sight to recognize an item. All right, moving on in here to our lesson. The what's it this week is a sandal, which I'm pretty sure is one of Aaron's old flip-flops. Hey, the kids take it out of the wardrobe. You don't have to. I had to put it in there. No, it's fun because then the kids are even like, it's a smelly old shoe. But it really is such a poignant part in the story that when God made himself known to Moses and speaking through that bush, he said, take off your sandals because where you are standing is holy ground. I remember the first time I taught this lesson in McHenry years ago, I actually took off my shoes and the kids were shocked. What? You took off your shoes? But just a way of showing the reverence that Moses had for God. Jesus has made such an incredible way for us to have a personal friendship and relationship with God. And we don't want to get to the point where we take that for granted. We want to continue to have that sense of awe and wonder and just reverent, holy, the Bible even calls it fear, the fear of the Lord, right? We want to still have that because he is God. And he is worthy of that. And even teaching that to our young kids, excuse me, sorry. It's good for them to know and to learn that yes, God is approachable, but God is also the most holy, the only one righteous. And then we do need to have this reverence for him. So again, you can read about this in Exodus, how God meets Moses and reveals himself to Moses, and God even asks, Moses asks God, when they asked me who has sent me, who should I tell them? And God even gives Moses his name and says, I am. And I just love those two words, I am, as God's name. I read a book a few years ago, and it just talked about how when we use the words I am to describe ourselves and follow it with a word that God has not placed in our identity, that even that is kind of a way of using the Lord's name in vain, because he has said, I am is his name. So think about that the next time you talk about yourself in a not so positive way. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that with love, because you are created by God and loved by God, and you are a strong leader in our ministry, and you are capable, and you are enough. And those are words that God places over you. So moving on, in our small groups this week, we're going to be just gluing red, orange, and yellow tissue paper to a bush to make it look like it's on fire, but it's not really being burned up. It's still a whole bush. And then real quick, because I know I've gone a little long this week, I do want to read a little blessing over you. And this is from Ephesians 1:17. I keep asking that the God of our Lord Jesus Christ, the glorious Father, may give you the spirit of wisdom and revelation so that you may know him better. All right. I'll see you this weekend. Bye.